Hello and welcome to Light Your Life. I am your host, Tina Marie St. Cyr, and of course, we are going to be diving into ways that we can light our life even more, expand our education, our knowledge, our wisdom, so that our lives become even better. We get to sit at the hem of those people that are creating magic and amazing progress in their own lives and learn from them. I know I love to do that. I know you love to do that. So I want to introduce our guest for today. Linda is an association executive with over 20 years of experience. And Linda Guile believes that those who work part-time and their companies all deserve to have adequate resources which fit their situations so that each of the individuals that are working part-time feel valued. Isn't that what we all want? We want to feel valued. You're going to understand why she's created this organization and what it means to our world. She believes in the power of connection. And I am going to be schooled today because I've already written down some questions for Linda. And I know that at the end of our time together, we're all going to walk away with amazing gifts. So today we're going to be tapping into the power of part-time. Welcome, Linda, to Light Your Life. Thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you, Tina Marie. I'm really excited to be here. This is going to be fun.
The great thing is that you and I are friends. We've met through masterminds and common connections. And what I love about that is that whenever we put ourselves out there to meet people we haven't met outside of the realms of the places that we would normally hang out, we get to learn new things. And from doing that, just like the audience here, the people that are listening, we get to pull different perspectives and knowledge to better our own lives. And I've learned from you. You've been an amazing resource to me in my growth and to the rest of the mastermind members. So I want to say thank you from my heart for that participation, that friendship.
Well, thank you. I've learned a lot from you. And as we were talking just before we came on air, it was thanks to the mastermind that I'm even here, because we wouldn't have met without it. So it's amazing what the power of connection through different types of groups can do for you.
Yes. And so that just bodes a question here is what had you tap into, and I'll use that again because TAP is the name of your company and TAP Online. We're going to be learning about that today. And so I hear myself say tap into it. It's like no pun intended, but it's like, it's going to be pretty much a theme today. What had you reach out to be part of a mastermind at that part of your own career and business development?
So the Guile Associates, which is the primary company that I run, is a family or was a family-owned business. I'm third generation in it, and I had hit a point where I needed outside resources, and had read a lot about mastermind groups, and had never really known how to get involved with one. I think is the best way to do it. Think about it, and met Mike Kim. Many of your listeners, I think, have heard a lot of us talk about. I've heard some of your guests talk about him.
Yeah, we love Mike. He's a great guy.
He's great. And so he was putting together a mastermind, and I knew he would have smart people together, and that that I could learn from. I think being a business owner, people say it's lonely, and I don't think it's so much as lonely. It's trying to figure out that extra network and who else, what other knowledge do they have or their experiences. And I do like the term tapping into or connecting from, because people think about things so differently. And so when I saw the opportunity, I kind of said, ding, 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 this is something I've been looking for. Let's see if it's a good fit for me. So
there you go. And we do. So as a business owner myself, sometimes we're programmed with stay in your lane and only reach out for resources whenever you hit a road bump or a hiccup. And if you don't feel as though then you're going to go reach for that either marketing resource or a financial resource or something of that nature. And for me, it's like, wait a second, I'm running a program. I'm running a program of what should happen and supposed to happen. Let's break up that program and go reach out and be connected to people that are in completely different industries so we can hear what they're doing. And because we don't always know what we don't know. And I love learning in that way. That's why we even have the Light Your Life podcast, so we can all learn together, which is awesome.
Exactly.
And so I read in your bio that you're an association executive, and my research, I went and Googled it, and I'm like, I don't know if that's what she means. So first question here, help us understand what an association executive is.
Okay, so let's start with what an association is. Most associations are not-for-profits,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that the profit doesn't go back to shareholders or to its members. It goes to the benefit of the common good. Some types of associations that the majority of your listeners would have heard of is the American Medical Association, the American Bar Association. In my area, I'm running a group of automotive, it's an advertising association. So it's Honda dealers, and visit your local Honda dealer or visit your local Acura dealer. So those dealers have gotten together and they're advertising as a group, and we're providing the resources for them, making sure that they're following state laws, that they're filing their taxes. And our company has been doing it since 1932. We've been in all industries
Wow.
practically, except for medical. We've never ventured into the medical field. And we've done everything from lobbying to running a flower show and a boat show, large conferences, small conferences. It's a lot of fun, and but an association can be anything. It's really amazing when you start to look around. I mean, there's probably an association. I know there is association for coaches.
Mm-hmm.
There's a speakers association. There's different types of clubs that they just have a like interest in chess or interest in, and I know there's a roller skating one.
Yeah, there's probably an association
wow,
for everything, right? I'm a
there
bird
is.
watcher, and I know there's the Audubon,
Yep.
things like that. And so
that's typical charitable organization.
okay,
Yep.
there you go. So how did this start? You said 1932. So I guess third generation, this is somebody in your lineage that had this need. How did it all begin? Do you know the story?
I do know the story. So my grandfather had worked for one of the major accounting firms and had lost his job during the Depression and was looking to figure out something else to do. And his wife saw an ad for the Cigarette Association to do some bookkeeping for them. And so he got involved with them and then started to do other work for other groups. And there was an association for the association executives. That was founded the Boston one was founded in 1929. He became involved with them and became very active in learning really about the nonprofit world, and was actually a leader in the National Association in the 50s, and one of the first people to become certified as an association executive. He was in the first class.
This is great. I'd never heard of this. And it's obvious that this is necessary. When we look at the tiers and the different levels of support, any organization would require. This sounds as though, this association, understanding how associations run, obviously, is its own business model.
Yep.
And the support of that business model is what your firm's doing.
Right.
And go ahead.
And we do it for organizations that have opted not to hire staff directly. So I don't want to say that we're for necessarily always a small organization. We might have very large budgets, or you may see companies such as ours that might have 15 people dedicated to one association, or 20 or 30. They've just opted to have a bigger company because it affords them the resources. So they might have access to a better database and better equipment, and they're not paying for us when there's not as much work. So, as I said, we run a fair amount of meetings, and for some of our groups, they may be dormant in the summer. They may not run any meetings during the summer. So the way we're structured, we're there when a member calls.
Right.
You're not paying a staff person to sit and twiddle their thumbs during the summer.
It sounds very cost effective for an association to look into your organization to help them manage cash, and in a time right now where that is king and queen, that it makes sense to be mindful of who's on your side. So your organization, of course, you've got the credibility, you've been around, and the game here and what to do. And today we're focused in on part-time. So not only what you do within TAP, there's a visibility and acumen and a wisdom that you've gathered in the need for part-time work across organizations. And it does seem to be, it's almost like the stepchild version of
Mhm.
employment. Like whenever I know we do career coaching here, and when people come, they're looking for full-time, they want to become an FTE, right?
Mhm.
And inside of LinkedIn, you get the choice to be able to click those boxes of what you're available for, full-time, remote, and then the part-time. It's almost like literally inside the nervous system. You look at that part-time piece, and it's like, oh, it's sort of like a stepchild. But you're seeing that this is a high need within the employment marketplace, and that grouping of people that are seeking part-time has been underserved, right?
I agree. Absolutely. You've stated it much better than in some ways I have. But I think that when people think of part-time, they think of entry level, they think of temporary, and they don't think of the skilled workforce. They don't think of the person that is taking a step away from full-time to raise a kid, to take care of an elderly parent, to create a difference and balance in their world. They've, been a high-powered executive, and now they need different hours, or they're looking towards retirement. There's 17 million people that work part-time in the US.
Wow.
Yeah. So the numbers
That's
are
awesome.
huge. And I think it's, personally, I firmly believe that there's a huge brain trust. And I became aware of it almost 20 years ago now, when, as a small business, we were running 75 to 80 in-person events that ranged in size from 35 people to 1,000.
Whoa.
With
Was that in a
a,
year time frame? Like what's the time frame you're running these events? Because that's a
but that was
lot.
in a year, like over a course of a
Okay.
year. Yeah, I remember one week, and it was around this time we had 15 meetings in one week. Um,
Oh my
it's a
goodness.
balancing act. It's what makes life fun.
Yes.
But so we needed a little bit of extra help, and we didn't need a full-time person. It didn't make any sense for what we did. And I had a number of friends who were moms
Uh-huh.
that had taken a step away from being in the workforce. And
Right.
I don't quite remember how I approached them, but started to bring some people in to do projects for me.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them said to me, my friends want something like this. They want to use their brain. They want to, for some of them, they wanted to get out of the house. So some people came in my office, and some people did stuff remotely
Mm-hmm.
over a period of time. And it made me think, wow, there's a need here. There's a need for the individual to figure out how to find companies that want to hire someone that has a brain that can really provide value and use it. And companies need to figure out how to tap into this, to say, hey, I need someone to do marketing, but I don't need someone full time.
Right.
And so we started to think about it, and I had the opportunity to hire someone named Erica. Now, Erica worked for me initially as a full-time employee. She loves accounting, loves numbers, and we just don't have a full-time role for an accountant. It's just not here. So she left after about a year. We kept in touch. She went and earned her MBA and had a child.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned she wanted to work part-time, and figured out how to bring her back. So she
Mm-hmm.
worked for me for 5 years, 20 hours a week. She attended meetings. She earned benefits. We gave her paid time off, insurance, and was a full-fledged member of my team, working 20 hours a week.
Yes.
And we
So
said
overall, it would be the same as an FTE, except it's a lesser expense to the company, which
mm-hmm,
when I hear is that you afforded her that full-time feel of being part of the community, being part of the
mm-hmm.
staff, not being ostracized as you're only here for a little while, right? And also giving her benefits, which is I didn't know is that common to do for a part-time employee, to offer benefits in that way?
It ranges. So
Mhm.
some companies I know, number one, they have to be 20 hours to be able to do insurance.
Qualify.
So
Mhm.
the insurance companies won't allow you if it's less than that.
Okay.
So that is a limitation that a company, it doesn't matter what they want to do, they can't get around.
Mhm.
However, for things like paid time off, that type of thing, I've heard some companies that do it and some that don't. And I think for each of them, it's looking at, do you want to invest in this person? And are you
Right.
seeing, what do they need? Someone may not need insurance, for example, because if they've been a stay-at-home parent and they have a significant other, they may get it through their spouse, right? And that family plan. But for us, what made sense with Erica was we wanted her to feel invested in us. And she did need the insurance for the family. That was one of the things that was before Obamacare and before it was as easy to get if you were some of the small businesses. We offered it. Her husband's company did not at the time. And
Right.
so she was getting that access. But, for me, I was getting someone who loved accounting.
Yeah.
Like,
I love people that love accounting. It's not me.
yeah, exactly.
They bring them in more. Yeah.
and great at it, right? So she
Yeah.
came in focused. She came in with an outside attitude. I mean, she's like the poster child for a great part-time employee anyway, because she would come in and always, if she'd been out for, more than overnight, she'd always come in and say, what did I miss?
Wow.
Does anyone need help with something? Knowing that we always had a million things that we were juggling.
Yeah.
And instead of just sitting down and starting on something that she thought was important, she would make sure that, hey, am I still on the same page with what I left? If I left on Thursday and came in on Tuesday, that gap a lot can happen, right? So
Yeah. So there's a couple of questions as an employer that are coming to mind because sometimes, we'll hire a part-time employee and treat them not as an employee, depending on state laws, but bring them as a contractor. What have you seen as the difference of bringing a resource in as a part-time employee versus bring them in contract? What are the pros and cons there that you've recognized?
So one of the pros can be just the extra paperwork that you have to do as an employer for the contractor. So if they're a contractor, they're 1099, you're not paying matching and that type of thing. They also need to be able to control their own hours. I mean, as you know, there's a lot of people that brings people in as contractors and don't understand the
They should
regulations.
really be an employee. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be careful with that one. I think the pro is they're going to come in and they're only going to work on X project. So you brought them in to work on your website or redo your marketing collateral or whatever it may be. That's also the con, in my opinion, because you can't necessarily tap into them to do something else for you. So with Erica, as I said, she did our accounting. We ran a group. We still run a group that meets twice a month. It hopefully will go back to in person sometime in the future.
Right.
And she would attend one of those luncheons and enjoy that. She would answer the phone and was part of our staff meetings and brainstorming. I think with contractors, you oftentimes aren't including them in your staff meetings.
Right.
And so you're not getting that extra energy.
Yeah, energy is a big one. And there's always this back of mind, I know for myself, that you question the loyalty. It's kind of interesting, the designation from employee to contractor. There's a couple of things that go along with that. You're questioning loyalty. You're questioning, could they possibly go work for a competitor in the other hours that they have?
Yep.
So some type of, is there any legality to restrict certain actions by that person? If they're a contractor, there are none. So having them as an employee and being able to have those stipulations and those agreements give you that you can build that trust and that loyalty. Have you seen that as well?
I agree with that. And I think if you do it well, you're creating that investment in your company because they do feel a part of the team. And again, to me, that's having them be part of your staff meetings, having them understand what else is happening in the company apart from just their role, just like you would do with your full-time employees. We sit and we will review. We're running 8 organizations in here. It only sounds like a lot when I talk to someone that doesn't know what we do.
It sounds like a lot to me. I mean, like, I'm like, wow, I'm running my own organization. I can't imagine. That's a lot of people.
There's always something going on, and that's the fun of it. But so, when you're bringing the person, the part-time, and they're part of that, they may see something because they've taken 2 days doing something else, whether even if that is going to their child's, volunteering at their child's school, they still may come back with a different perspective that helps the team. And I think it brings a different energy. With contractors, they're so focused on, I'm here to do X.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when I have my accountants in to do we're audited internally, that's all they're ever going to do when they come in. And that's clearly, we're not going to bring them and say, can you answer our phones? It'd be really weird.
Right? They stay in their lane.
They stay in their lane. And I think that's the big difference between having them as an employee and a contractor. Is the contractor is going to stay in their lane.
Yeah. Are there certain roles that part-time people fit better in, or is it across the organization, just having that mindset of how can I silo this into an actual part-time job description?
I think the best way is actually looking internally. So understanding, what does your team lack?
Mm-hmm.
So if your team is really good at like they're really creative, but they don't do some of the additional follow through on it, or
work or database work or systems work.
Exactly. We have a friend that loves standard operating procedures. She loves her SOPs, right? So if your company, I think, and if no one on your team is good at that and they don't enjoy it, that might be a great thing to bring someone in that makes sure that as you bring on new clients, everything, is streamlined and you have your procedures. So I don't think that there's one thing that works or doesn't work. It really is, there's a few criteria that I look for. One is, do you really understand how you operate?
Right.
So when you bring someone in and you're trying to have them fit in, handing that work over part-time, there's a little bit more piecemeal to it sometimes. So if it's not a big project that they're going to dive into, do you have the communication there set up between you and that individual?
Right.
Do you really understand how long things take?
There's a big one, right?
Right. So you bring them in to work 20 hours, and really what you've asked them to do is 4. Yeah. And it's having that dialogue with you and them. I actually, believe it or not, believe in, for small companies, tracking time, at least for a little bit.
We have a time tracker worksheet, and it's funny because I asked them to track everything they're doing in a day, and they're like, everything? I'm like, yeah, like whenever you get up to go to the bathroom, here's the time you left, you came back. It's not because we're being micromanagey or, like that downward looking, like, what are you doing with your time? It's let's really bucket and categorize where we're spending our time as individuals. So from our perspective internally here, we want to track distractions. We want to start to learn how distractions take us off our game and how can we increase productivity and efficiencies. And the best way to start that is to track your time. And you guys do that too.
Yep, we do that too. And we also track projects. So sometimes I will notice when my team is avoiding a project. So many years ago, I had someone on my team that fabulous employee, so the statements, none of this is a negative. And for one of our clients, there was research along potential members, and I would watch that one project get danced around, and I finally said, okay, this has to happen. And she said, yeah, I suddenly realized I don't really like it. Okay, Carla, who is part-time, loves research. Let's give it to her.
Wow.
So understanding like what people liked, being able to shift it, but also saying to your team, so if you were to think about bringing someone part-time, ask everyone, if we brought in someone to help, what one thing would you like to give them? See if there's a trend.
Yeah.
So
they could have common tasks. If somebody's more back office operational mindset, task oriented or systems oriented, if there's like 3 or 4 people that go, yeah, I'd offset that anytime, right? Then you
Hmm.
find somebody who it's their strength.
Exactly. Or,
You know,
conversely, could be the creativity. Erica, who was wonderful with accounting when I first started with her, okay, do this flyer for me. And I'm like, everything was at the top part of a page. I'm like, that's not her strength. Okay, we won't
now
give
we
that to her.
know.
So it can be on either way. My mom is very creative and sold office supplies, and she, when I was a kid, hired someone part-time to handle all the paperwork. So
It's a
I think
wonderful
it's,
catch.
it's really figuring, I
Mhm.
think it's doing it well means taking a look at your company and saying, where is there a need? Are we willing to really have a good dialogue? How are we going to make sure that we're integrating this person and
Mhm.
making them feel part of the team? How are we going to keep them updated? Because there'll be gaps when they work.
Communications. Mhm.
Um, and not everyone's great, like Erica was, of coming in and saying, what did I miss?
Mm. And so
Um,
has there been any tools or systems that you've seen that help with that integration and the higher level of communication across the team for part-time employees?
we I think using some sort of project management, and it can be very simple. I mean, we actually use Google Docs a lot, that we
Mhm.
track things and we assign things, and it can go back and forth. That people, if someone needs me to review something and I'm not around, they can throw it on there and tell me where to find it, so I know that I'm supposed to do it. So it's not I'm just assigning work to my team. They can assign work to me,
Mhm.
and get on my case if I don't do it. um, there's a ton of project management software such as Monday and Asana and those. Um, some tools, it's not even an actual tool. It's making sure that if you're doing team meetings, and I'm a big proponent of having staff meetings on a regular basis.
Yes.
If you can do once a week, great. If you can do once every 2 or 3 weeks, making sure that you're doing it when your part-time employees there.
Right. And when they're going to attend. Mhm.
Exactly. And, if you have a lot of new people, periodically going through and saying, what's your background?
Mm.
A lot of small businesses, someone was brought in to do X, but you don't actually know what else they know. So
A
for,
deeper interview, so
yeah,
the whole team knows.
but a whole team. So for example, my husband is amazing at Excel. But he's a sales guy, and he was their trainer at one point as well. And someone figured this out. He works for a company with 80 or 90 employees, and he's
Mhm.
done Excel trainings for the company,
Wow. Not
for
usual for a
individuals.
salesperson.
What?
Not usual for a salesperson.
No, exactly. And for us, like, we learned, like I said, with Carla, that she really liked research. So, you might find out that someone's used a particular type of software in their past,
Mhm.
or has connections that you'd like. I mean, you don't quite know. And I think by people understanding and giving them that freedom
Mhm.
to swap move things around. I'm not a silo person, actually. I am a, you know, if someone wants to learn about something and it works and it's going to help us grow, absolutely. And if one person can't handle something and they need some help, and someone else feels like they have the time to help them, great, as long as it doesn't feel like one person's always dumping on someone else.
Right. Balance
Um,
there. Yeah.
so you have to pay attention to that. But I think, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's encouraging that communication. It's encouraging getting to know the individual. And again, you asked about the consultant, and I think when you're bringing in a consultant, I think sometimes you feel with a consultant that there's always a very high ticket,
Mhm.
and you don't want to waste their time.
Right. So
And
you
and
don't
they
wanna
may
put extraneous things on their tasks list.
exactly.
Right.
So I mean, and not that a part-time should be paid at a low rate, but
Mhm.
it may feel different when it's very task oriented. So
Mhm.
um
It is interesting how we develop these mindsets, isn't it? It
yep.
is definitely. And so, tell our wonderful listeners what TAP stands for and why you created this alliance and what you provide people who are out there saying, I think I want some part-time work and I want to call Linda.
So TAP stands for the Talented Alliance of Part-Time Professionals. and we're online and on Instagram and Facebook and all of that good stuff. And we offer resources. We're about to start a course for the individual that wants to work part-time. So helping the job seeker find that ideal position and taking them through a process to learn what fits for them. So as we just talked about, one size does not fit all, but we want people to find that job that values them. And we are not headhunters. So we're just helping them with that process of understanding, getting a little bit of insight from a company on how to find that great job. So
yeah, you want to position it, because sometimes when we're moving out of a full-time mindset and a full-time utilization, there's some sticky pieces there. There's like, and I'm sure you've seen this, whenever we coach our individuals and they're wanting to move, maybe they want to go into an advisory role within an organization or something of that nature, and more strategic, lower, involvement. There's the don't go in and try and be the hero to everything and think that you're going to know everything going in the organization. Don't stress yourself that way as a part-time person. Second, and maintain your boundaries. If you've said you want to maintain part-time, just look inside your nervous system, because there's this part of us going, well, where's my value? Where's my significance? How can I be of more importance? Because that's who we were as a full-time employee. And to really check inside and go, where's your boundaries? You need to pay attention to what you committed to and not overcommit. Do you see that whenever you're helping your professionals as well, how to groom them to this transition?
Yes, absolutely. I think, and that clarity, I think it starts with understanding, why do you want to work? Right? So if you haven't determined why you want to work, then you can't address issues like that. And, if you really want to work because you want to be more social, then being at home proofreading manuscripts, even if you love it,
right,
by yourself, is not going to give you what part of why you want to work. So I think it's a lot of that is that a little bit deeper looking inside, and then understanding some questions to ask the company, because some of what we just talked about of how do you structure the job, the part-time has to make sure that company is structuring the job well, because I think that's always my concern, is the company that hasn't done any of the work, and instead of it being 4 hours that it's going to take the person to finish it, they're really giving them a full-time role and saying, but you can do it in 20 hours, right? And the person's completely stressed out and doesn't know how to say no, and
so
it's not what they want.
Courageous conversations with your employer.
And asking great questions up front, right?
And do you help the resources? So if somebody today says, I love that I'm listening to this podcast, I love that Linda Guild is here, I love that I can tap into TAP, and let me remind everyone how to do this. They do have a website. However, we're also going to send you to their Instagram or Facebook. So listen, this is how you're going to find their website, and that is taponline.net. Now let me spell it, because there's a trick here. Just like in my name. We talked about this earlier, Linda. My name, I need to buy a vowel. But TAP Online is TAPP online.net, TAPP online.net. And then on Instagram, it's TAPPONLI. And then on Facebook, TAPPONLI as well. So you're looking for TAP Online with 2 P's, and you're looking for Linda Guile. And she's got this amazing resource of Talented Alliance for part-time professionals. So if they're interested in saying, I would love to get back in the workforce, I am coming out of, maybe I've been taking a hiatus for whatever reason in my life. Maybe I'm moving out of a full-time and I want to do something part-time. So I value my what I give into the workforce, and in my confidence and my professionalism. I don't just simply want to retire 100%. For whatever reason, you're looking for part-time work and effective part-time work that's going to match you. How do they reach out to you, and what would be that first step that you would be doing with an individual?
So they can reach out to us through any of the mechanisms that you just talked about. We'll be starting a course that will probably be underway by the time this airs, but we'll be offering it again. That will take a job seeker through a number of steps, from defining their ideal position through the interview process, and some things for them to think about along the way. We have a roadmap that they can download for free that they'll find if they click on any of our links. And they can also just connect with us. You know, I'm someone like a lot of people that if they ask us questions or direct message us, they'll get me or one of my team members directly. It's not a robot. It's not outsourced. It's someone that will do everything to answer their question and start a conversation with them, because we really want to change the world around how part-time is valued. And we want people to know that working part-time is awesome, and you know, the people should be valued, not seen as second-class citizens. So
Right. And we're coming, through this, wonderful season of humanity called a pandemic. Um, some silver linings that came out, right? For me, silver linings were we got to realize our house is a pretty cool place to work from. Like the first couple weeks, I had very bad posture. I had non-ergonomic desks called a folding table. My wife's a chiropractor, and so she was like, because I was like having neck pain and headache, and I was irritable, and she's like, "Can I come look at how you've set up the office upstairs?" And she goes, "Oh, no, no, no." So we learned ergonomics the hard way. I did. We also learned that we can take breaks and walk around the block and work out in the middle of the day and love our dogs, which you said that your dog comes to work with you, and she's been coming to work with you for how long?
He's been in here for the last decade.
Wow, that's so awesome.
I heard him walking around a little bit, and then he finally went back and laid down. He's blocking. We have a puppy in the office too, and where I am is blocked off for the puppy, and the old guy would never even try and get through. Like you put up anything, and we joke that all you have to do is put a sign and saying stop, and he won't go through.
The older we get, the less energy it takes for us to just go, okay, sounds good.
Yeah, we have a dog in the office, and it's pretty cool. So
my dog this morning, whenever I go, because I'm back in an office setting, and whenever I leave, she just looks at me like, again, you're leaving again, with me, like, hello. And I'm like, I know. Tomorrow is Saturday. We're going to spend more time together.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I mean, having a dog is cool in the office. I like that, but I think you're right. I think that's the other piece for that I think is good for the pandemic. Is the plus is understanding that people can work from home and be productive. So if that individual who wants to work part-time would like to work from home, it does open up avenues. And again, it's being clear with themselves of what they need, and making sure that they're figuring out and asking questions about the connections that they need. Because if you're a really social person, like I said, working from home, or if you have toddlers running around, you might be like, oh, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So
I love that. And you're here to support everybody with their questions. So
exactly.
For those that are listening, maybe you know people, maybe it's you, and you're interested in part-time work. You've gotten to the season of your life where that work-life balance, you want to and can afford to have more time outside of a full-time job, and you want to adhere to a part-time work schedule. And then also, Linda can help you with what's your value in the marketplace. Because that's another question mark that we end up having is, wait a second, I'm coming out of a full-time role, and I knew my value there. Now, what's your value as a part-time? It's not simply half. So it's not simply just doing a division of two. So could you speak to that, Linda, about the value of a part-time resource into an organization?
I think that's such a fascinating question. Is for every person, stop and say, if you've tapped into what do you love to do, now you're bringing probably more value into a company because you're focused on that. You have the background on it using the accounting. Is she really loved it, came in with that focus, rather than the person that they can do it, but it takes them longer.
Right.
And so explaining to the company, hey, this is what I'm going to accomplish for you. This is how I can move your goals through. You're not hiring someone to do things that, one, they're going to do well, and four, they're going to do meh.
Right.
You're hiring someone that's going to do one thing really well, and you're going to pay me well for it too.
Right. And you don't need to train me a lot, right? Or oversee, or micromanage, or
exactly.
vote for communications, because there's a level of professionalism that comes with getting to the season of our life that we're saying, no, I'm going to dedicate myself to a focused effort as opposed to an elongated, in training effort.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think we look for a unicorn oftentimes, that person that can do everything. And we've all been guilty of it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And something just doesn't, it's either that it's not done well or someone doesn't enjoy it. And the person that comes in and says, hey, I can fill this gap for you, that's super valuable. And if you treat them well as an employer,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 5 years is great to have someone on your team.
That's awesome. So even my mind, so I'm looking at, we're coming out of a lull of, people wanting our services as a coaching firm, right? And the needs and the, prospects are coming in, yet my cash flow doesn't warrant the, taking on a full-time new salesperson, right? Yet I want to be prepared and not taxing my current staff so much that things fall through the cracks.
Yep.
And so I'm probably going to be giving you a call and saying, let's talk here, because I'm looking at bringing on an inside sales person that it's a more defined role, as opposed to someone who'd be out marketing and creating those leads and creating those connections. This one would be fulfilling the orders that come in online. And it's easy to, go into that one piece and own it, right? And
yeah, and I loved how you said one piece.
Mm-hmm.
That you're not having them do 7.
I want them to specialize in that.
Exactly. And as part of that, you may choose that you need someone else, and it may be something that you could have, more of a job sharing with something.
That's beautiful. To overflow with the team, right?
Exactly.
I've learned so much. And I invite you to expand your title. As your title says, association executive. And I'm like, oh, you're so much, like you're like the mother of part-time people that need someone to handhold them through their process. So there's a title for you.
Chief bottle washer.
Right. So today we've been talking about tapping into the power of part-time. Maybe you are at that season of your life where you even have inquiry or curiosity and you want to reach out to Linda Guild and her team. And so I'm going to remind you how you get in touch with TAP. And TAP is the Talented Alliance of Part-Time Professionals. And Linda is at the helm of that. And she's been our guest today. So their website is TAP Online. That's TAP with 2 P's, TAPP online.net. And then on Facebook, she said they're active on Facebook. They're active on IG, the Gram. And so you can go find them at TAPPONLI on Facebook and on the Gram. And so reach out. Maybe you know somebody, and she's got a 4-part course coming up now to help you navigate your part-time journey and find that perfect job for you. You want to put this in your pocket, because if you don't need her now, you'll need her in the future, guaranteed. Linda, thank you so much. You have really schooled me and helped educate me. And as a business owner, I'm always learning. And I really love that you've created this alliance for part-time professionals. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast.
Awesome. So if you have not yet, you want to subscribe to the Light Your Life podcast. We have amazing guests every week, just like Linda, who are helping to expand your horizons, give you a little nugget of something that they've been through, their wisdom, so that you can increase your effectiveness as an individual in our world, as a career professional in our world, or as a business owner. You're going to be taking something away every time with Light Your Life. Thank you for being fans of ours, and go find us online at Light Your Life. And also go find Bonfire Coaching. We can all use a coach. I know I've got a whole army of them behind me because I need direction. And if you're looking for that too, reach out to Bonfire Coaching. We're here for you. Thank you for listening, and we'll be with you next week.